You guys, welcome back to Game Art Mode. This is Val. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to fake shadows in Photoshop. So sometimes when you're adding, multiple objects to your scene from different screenshots, you end up having maybe issues adding shadows, or you don't want to add them the regular way. So for instance, let me add a shadow or a character to start with. Let's open this one up. So let's say we want to throw in Eve, an additional Eve to our scene, right? So what we can do is use object selection, click on Eve, and Ctrl C to copy, then go back and Ctrl V to paste. Now we don't have a big shadow enough, right, to kind of do this. So upon throwing her in here, I think her neck is missing. yeah. Let's shift click there to add the neck. Now we can't. For some reason the neck is not being copied. That's fine. Doesn't really matter for this time around, right? This is about the shadow, not about Eve. I'm going to show you how to fill in those gaps in a different video. So first of all, before doing anything, I want to do a quick color adjustment. So one thing you can do is just add hue to recolor Eve slightly so that she has the same lighting. Different scenes will have different lighting, different mood, different color scales and so forth, right? And by the way, she's a little bit brighter here because she has also an additional light from the front, like a filler. And this one here is a little bit further away, so we don't need to exaggerate her, but we can add a little bit of that here as well, right? She's a little bit further away, so having her a little bit darker is fine. Now, a very neat way of creating shadows. And by the way, this works here in Photoshop in 2D, but it also works in 3D space, in games or whatever you're using, right? So here's a trick. You copy Eve, right? Select everything, Control A to, let me just go here. Control A to select all, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Now you have an additional copy of her. Now watch what I'm doing. I'm gonna flip her vertically. Ta-da! All right, and we have a shadow. We have a shadow soon. Now we're gonna do a few tweaks here. One of which is gonna be, I'd say, you can use perspective. You can distort as well. Distort is useful when you're having, when you're using different perspective angles, so to speak. And shadows ain't straight. If you look at the image, you see that the shadow here on Eve in the center is pretty much straight towards the camera, while here on the sides is pretty much almost 45 degrees to the right, and here it's 45 degrees to the left. Because, shadows are indeed straight from the sun, but they are not perceived straight by the camera. So then we can, align this up a little bit. Looking at this, it's kind of low, right? And it doesn't need to be perfect, but something like that, a little bit to the left, and we have our shadow ready. Cool. Now, what we need now is obviously to make this with less color, right? So different ways you can do brightness and contrast, and legacy is pretty powerful because very quickly, creates that kind of effect we want. Like in an instant, you have that ready, right? You don't need to do anything. So I recommend legacy because the new updated version is a little bit more, I should say, forgiving, all right? More gentle. While this one here, the legacy, is very, very powerful and straightforward. So just go max on it. Cool, right? Now, shadows can, behave differently. One way shadows behave in the real world and also in, modern 3D applications and also in complex game engines is that they are sharp next to the item, casting them, and a little bit more blurry further away you get. This ain't always the truth in games because games are faking a lot to gain speed, rendering speed, right? I mean, games are live at 60 frames per second often, and you need speed, right? You can't you can't get everything exactly 100% real all the time. So one thing we're gonna do here is just use blur, Gaussian, and select 5. I'd say 5 is pretty close to what we see here, Eve on this side, right? I'd say maybe even 4, a little bit sharper, yeah, something like that, right? Next, while we have it, I think it's still, looking at the rock here, the shadow is a little bit more to the left, very much to the left here. So I'd say we put her a little bit more. Let's distort again and just put that a little bit more to the left, like so. Then looking, how much you should see of Eve here is a bit of a guessing game, because you need to look here. You see kind of to abdomen level, but she is closer to the camera. This one here is further away from the camera, maybe 2, 3, 4 meters away from this one. So naturally, her thighs should not align. So I'd say we push it up as well, something like that, and it starts to look okay. All right, cool. Next, you can use Control, hold it pressed, and then use the cursor keys to fine-tune your position. In this case, Eve is kind of leaning on her right leg, and the left leg is kind of in the air, right? Plus, we have the shadow here. It's not pitch dark, right? So you adjust that here in the opacity until it matches perfectly, right? Now, one issue we are seeing in this particular case is that Eve's shadow in the game is a little bit warmer than it is here, all right? So in that case, I would adjust curves, and I'd say we grab the blue component. Now the problem is that we have pitch dark, and dark is very hard to work with. You can't adjust dark, right? You can't tune down red or blue or whatever. So what we want to do is clone this, duplicate this. We got a clone of it, and we're gonna invert it. So we have a white shadow, so to speak, right? This will allow us to control the color, and now we can also use different blending modes if you choose to, overlay being one of them. But now, because we have added white, now we can go into curves and adjust the color. See what happens now? Now we can control it, right? So what we want to have is a little bit of warmer tint. So now drag down the blue, and then green, maybe half of it, so that we get a little bit more orangish tint. And I'm gonna drag it down. And this is a balance game here, getting these to work. One should be pretty dark, and the other one should counter it, so that we get a bit more color on the ground. I'd say it's more reddish here than we kind of managed to get a little more yellow on this side, right? But I mean, it's fine. We can fine tune that again. Curves, drag down blue, and drag down green, so we get a bit more red in here. So in this case, because we used a black kind of shadow here, we couldn't change its color, so we added a copy in white and overlay that using overlay. That allowed us to change the color scale of the white component of the white shadow. If you remove it, it's gonna look gray, right? And now it's more almost the same. It's pretty close. Now that's it, guys. And one final thing, and it's that sometimes you have items that belong together. In this case, we have Eve here. We have the black shadow, the white shadow. So sometimes adding a group might be useful. And then we can just place the group here and add all these components here, so that once we select the the group, we can now shift and move that entirely, right? Holding down Control, use Command on the Mac, and then using left and right or up and down cursor keys. Now, you can also scale this entire thing now, the group, right? And as you scale it, you scale everything, all the stuff, the shadow and all that, right? Pretty neat. All right, so guys, that's pretty much what I want to cover. Again, we kind of skipped the neck of Eve here. That's just a simple copy and paste. We could have, you know, copied her neck here if you wanted to. It's not really something we need to do right now. This was more about the shadow than about Eve's neck, right? But ideally her neck should be present here. And what we can do is go back here, deselect, and just do a really quick copy of her neck, like so. Go back here, paste, and just, you know, copy that real quick here. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not about perfect. I, you know, seldom use perfection in my videos. I kind of teach the process, right? And the rest you can, you know, spend as much time adjusting as you want. So there we go. Guys, that's all for now. That's how you fake shadows. And this works, as I said, in Photoshop. It works in 3D software and in games. If you have flat items, back in the 80s and 90s, they were called sprites. And nowadays they're called planes or billboards, right? They also called billboards. You can use that in 3D art. And if you have a flat item, you can import that into your software, project it onto a flat, you know, plane, create a transparency map. We can do that in a different video. And then you can create a shadow in the same fashion. You can fake it, or the software will do that for you. It will cast the shadow through the item. And it works in games as well. So pretty cool, guys. This is all I wanted to do for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and I will bring more cool stuff ahead. I see you soon.